In the heat of confrontation, most men lose their crown, not by defeat, but by the trembling of their own composure. Power does not belong to the loudest voice, nor the quickest blade. It belongs to the one who remains calm, while others drown in their emotions. Today, I will show you how to master that silence and weaponize it. Confrontation is inevitable. Whether in politics, business, or personal life, conflict is the natural language of ambition. Yet most stumble, blinded by anger, pride, or fear. They reveal too much, they act too soon, and in their impatience they betray themselves. The man who stays calm in confrontation is not merely at peace. He is in control. He becomes the mirror in which his enemy sees his own instability. What I will reveal are not lessons of peace, but strategies of survival, methods to keep your face still, your words measured, and your silence sharper than any insult. This is not the art of avoiding conflict, this is the art of mastering it. Power is not seized in the clash of swords. It is lost in the trembling of hands, the faltering of voice, the eruption of anger that clouds judgment. In any confrontation, the greatest enemy is not the man before you. It is the weakness within you. You may ask, why does emotion hold such sway over men? Because emotion is visible. It escapes through the eyes, the breath, the trembling lip. It betrays you faster than any spy. History is littered with rulers who commanded armies, but could not command themselves. Consider the Roman Emperor Commodus. He inherited the vast power of Marcus Aurelius, yet his vanity and temper made him a spectacle. In moments of confrontation, he could not resist the urge to display outrage. What happened? The Senate, his generals, even his gladiators despised him. A single emotional weakness undid an empire. Contrast this with Caesar. He faced rivals, assassins, and conspiracies, yet rarely allowed his composure to falter in public. Even when insulted, he remained measured, calculating the effect of every gesture, every silence. His restraint drew men to him, for nothing inspires more confidence than a leader who does not tremble in chaos. So I ask you, when anger grips you, who truly commands? Is it you? Or is it the man across from you, pulling invisible strings, provoking, watching, waiting? The tyranny of emotion is that it enslaves you to the enemy's timing. The one who controls your temper controls you. And once controlled, you are no longer dangerous. Psychology confirms this truth. In the storm of anger, the brain's limbic system, the seat of raw instinct, overrides the prefrontal cortex, where strategy and foresight live. You may think you are fighting with reason, but you are not. You are fighting blind, swinging wildly while your opponent calculates. You have become predictable. Consider the interrogator's art. When a prisoner resists, the clever interrogator does not strike, he provokes, he insults, he needles the man until fury takes hold. And once the prisoner is enraged, his tongue loosens. He shouts too much. He reveals too much. This is the tyranny of emotion, when your enemy no longer needs chains to hold you, because your own passion has become the chain. Ask yourself, in your own confrontations, whether at work, at home, in the street, how often have you surrendered not to logic, but to the urge to answer quickly, to snap back, to prove yourself? That, too, is weakness. The one who forces you to react first has already won half the battle. Imagine instead that you do not yield. Your adversary shouts, but you are still. He accuses, but you remain calm. He flails with words, but you wait, silent. What begins to happen? His voice rises, his face reddens, his composure collapses. And those watching, the audience that always exists, even if unseen, decide instinctively that you are the stronger. Because calmness is power, it suggests mastery not only of the situation, but of yourself. Think of a chessboard. The novice plays with emotion, chasing pieces, reacting to every move. The master does not. The master waits, sacrifices a pawn here, retreats there, yet never loses composure. Because he is not fighting for this move, but for the inevitable outcome 10 moves later. So too in confrontation. The one who keeps calm is not fighting for this moment, but for the eventual dominance that patience guarantees. But let us speak plainly. Staying calm does not mean weakness, nor does it mean softness. It is not submission. It is preparation. To remain calm is to sharpen the knife quietly while your opponent screams. It is to let him reveal his hand while you conceal yours. It is to rule yourself first so you may rule others second. The tyranny of emotion has destroyed kings, toppled generals, and ruined common men. Yet those who mastered their passions became unshakable. They turned confrontations into performances where the enemy destroyed himself. Calm man is not harmless, he is terrifying, because no one knows when or how he will strike. So the next time conflict finds you, remember this: he who loses his temper loses his crown. He who masters his silence masters the field. And yet composure alone is not enough. For silence, if not wielded with calculation, becomes emptiness. The question is, once calmness disarms the enemy, how do you turn it into a weapon? That is the secret we uncover in the next lesson. Power does not always lie in words spoken. Often it hides in the silence between them. In confrontation, men rush to fill the air, desperate to prove, to defend, to explain. But the one who pauses, who withholds, who delays, forces the other to reveal himself. Ask yourself, why do men fear silence? Because silence creates tension. It exposes insecurity. It leaves the other side uncertain, doubting, scrambling to close the gap. And in that scramble, they make mistakes. History has shown this again and again. Consider Talleyrand, the French statesman. He was called the Sphinx without a secret. Because in negotiation, he often said nothing. He let others speak, argue, overextend themselves. While they exhausted their energy, he merely listened, waited, and with a single phrase at the right moment, he tilted the entire balance of power. His pause was more devastating than their speeches. Or take the battlefield. Hannibal, master of deception, often delayed his strikes. He withheld the charge until his enemies grew restless, until discipline cracked. Then, when they surged forward recklessly, he unleashed his forces at the precise instant when their formation was weakest. The pause was not hesitation, it was calculation. The psychology is simple. The human mind craves closure. When you withhold an answer, a reaction, even a gesture, your opponent becomes anxious. Their brain searches for meaning in the silence, projecting fear, anger, or guilt. And as they fill the void, they reveal what you never needed to ask. Think of an interrogation. An amateur asks question after question, pressing endlessly. But the skilled interrogator asks once, then waits. The silence becomes unbearable. The suspect speaks, not to answer the question, but to end the silence. He fills it with words he never intended to share. The pause extracts more truth than force ever could. Have you ever seen this in daily life? Someone accuses you, expecting an instant defense, but you remain still. Seconds pass. They grow uneasy, repeat themselves, elaborate their accusation, reveal details they should have concealed. In their effort to break your silence, they expose their hand. This is the power of the calculated pause. But beware, pause without purpose is weakness. Hesitation is not the same as calculation. The pause must be deliberate, sharpened like a blade. It is not silence for silence's sake, but silence as a trap. You wait not because you are uncertain, but because you are certain that they will falter first. Let us reflect on politics. When a ruler delays judgment, courtiers grow restless. They whisper, they maneuver, they reveal ambitions and fears. The ruler, silent, learns everything without lifting a finger. But if he speaks too soon, he cuts off the stream of information. He shows his position before the others have shown theirs. Impatience becomes surrender. And what of personal conflict? Imagine an argument with a rival. He expects your anger. He hurls insults, waiting for fire in return. But you give him nothing. Only stillness, only the weight of your gaze. He continues, but each word weakens him. For the crowd sees one man composed, another unraveling. In the theater of power, the pause is the loudest voice. There is also danger in the pause, is there not? What if they perceive it as fear? What if silence emboldens them? This is why the pause must be paired with presence. Your eyes steady, your posture unyielding, your calmness undeniable. Then the silence does not say, I am weak. It says, I am unshaken. And that message terrifies more than any outburst. The calculated pause is a weapon because it reverses control. Your opponent expects attack. You give none. They expect defense. You remain still. In their confusion, they attack shadows, wearing themselves down. Meanwhile, you gather strength, waiting for the exact moment when a single strike, one word, one gesture, ends the battle. Consider the duel not of swords, but of negotiation. The man who speaks first often loses. Why? Because he reveals his desires, his limits, his desperation. But the man who waits forces the other to name terms, to set conditions, to expose his weakness. The pause is the hidden battlefield where victory is won before a word is spoken. So I ask you, in your next confrontation, will you rush to fill the silence? Or will you weaponize it? Will you allow impatience to betray you? Or will you let your enemy reveal himself while you remain untouchable? The pause is the moment when time itself becomes your ally. It is the space in which the enemy crumbles under his own weight. But the question remains, once silence has broken your opponent, how do you wear the mask that conceals your inner fire? That secret is the next step, and it is more dangerous than silence itself. There is a fire inside you, a burning instinct to strike back, to prove your strength, to show the world that you will not be disrespected. But in confrontation, this fire is both your power and your undoing. If you let it blaze openly, your enemy will see it. He will know your limits. He will measure your fury and prepare against it. But if you conceal it, if you cloak the fire behind calmness, then no man knows where you truly stand. That uncertainty is more terrifying than anger itself. Ask yourself, have you ever met a man whose calm face concealed something you could not read? You spoke to him, yet felt uneasy, because his eyes betrayed nothing. That man held power over you, not because he was stronger, because you could not see the fire within him. And what is unseen is always feared more than what is obvious. History offers endless lessons. Consider Cardinal Richelieu, the Iron Minister of France. He was ruthless, consumed by ambition, yet in court he rarely displayed rage. His words were measured, his tone calm, his face unreadable. Even as he plotted the downfall of rivals, he maintained the appearance of serenity. His enemies never knew when the blow would come, only that it would come. That mask of composure made him untouchable, even when his inner fire raged with schemes. Contrast this with Alexander the Great. Brilliant though he was, his temper often erupted in the open. He killed his own general, Cletus, in a drunken fury. In that moment, he revealed too much. His instability, his lack of control. The conqueror of nations was betrayed not by armies, but by the fire he could not mask. Psychology confirms what history shows. People judge not merely your words, but your facial expressions, tone, and gestures. The microsecond flash of anger, the twitch of the jaw, the narrowing of the eyes. These betrayals of the inner fire give your opponent leverage. They learn where to push, when to strike, and how to unsettle you. So, how does one mask the fire? Through discipline. Through the cultivation of a controlled exterior that reveals nothing but what you choose. Your rage may roar inside, but your face must remain still. Your voice steady, your silence deliberate. You do not suppress the fire, you harness it like a blacksmith who forges weapons from flame. Think of a negotiation. You may despise the man across the table. You may burn with the urge to expose his lies. But if you reveal this, he gains the advantage. He knows what angers you, and he will use it again. But if you show nothing, if your mask holds firm, he is left guessing, and guessing drains him more than any attack. Consider the predator in the wild. The lion does not roar before it strikes. It watches, it waits. Its fire is hidden until the moment of the kill. So too must you be. Your mask must conceal your inner blaze until revealing it secures victory, not weakness. But do not mistake the mask for dishonesty. It is not deceit for its own sake. It is survival. It is the recognition that in confrontation, showing your true feelings is a gift to your enemy. The wise do not hand weapons to those who wish them harm. Have you noticed how men fear what they cannot rid? A loud, angry opponent may be disliked, but he is predictable. A calm, unreadable one is dangerous because no one knows where his fire lies or how far it will spread when unleashed. This fear becomes your shield, your armor. The mask turns your silence into menace, your stillness into dominance. The challenge, of course, is endurance. How long can you hold the mask? How long before the fire demands release? Here lies the test of mastery. The longer you conceal, the more the enemy doubts. The more they doubt, the weaker they become. And when the time finally comes to reveal the fire, on your terms, not theirs, it consumes them completely. So I leave you with this question: in your next confrontation, will you expose the fire too soon, letting it be used against you? Or will you wear the mask, hiding the blaze until its eruption becomes inevitable, unstoppable, and devastating? The mask protects you. But once you have concealed the fire, there is a greater art still, using your opponent's fury as a weapon against him. That, my friend, is the next lesson. Rage is a fire. Uncontrolled, it blinds. It consumes reason, patience, and strategy. Most men believe fury makes them stronger. In truth, it makes them predictable. This is where the wise prevail. For the clever man does not fear the anger of his adversary. He welcomes it. He bends it. He turns it into a weapon. Not against himself, but against the one who wields it. Ask yourself, when your enemy is enraged, does he calculate? No. He acts rashly. He reveals intentions before their time. He rushes into traps that a calm mind would see. And in this blindness, he becomes the architect of his own downfall. History is full of such men. Think of Napoleon at Waterloo. By then, he was desperate, his temper clouded by urgency. He struck early, committing forces too soon, believing his will alone could crush the enemy. The Duke of Wellington, calm and steady, let him burn. The more Napoleon pushed, the deeper he sank into the mud of his own fury. What destroyed him was not merely the enemy army, but his own impatience. Or look to ancient Greece. At Marathon, the Persians expected fear to break the Athenians. But it was the Persians themselves who lost discipline, charging wildly when provoked. Their anger fractured formation, and the smaller Greek force cut them down. Their fury made them vulnerable. Psychology explains why. Anger narrows focus. The brain floods with adrenaline, stripping away foresight. The furious man cannot see 3 moves ahead. He can barely see the present. And so he lashes out, loud, aggressive, dangerous perhaps, but also transparent. You need not fight him directly. You need only step aside and let his fury strike the wall he cannot see. Think of a debate. Your rival grows loud, his voice rising. He mocks, he insults, he hurls reckless words. The crowd watches. And what do they see? One man out of control, another composed. Even if you speak less, you win more. Because fury does not persuade. It only entertains, then destroys. But how do you make this useful to yourself? You provoke. You set the stage so that his anger erupts at the wrong moment, in the wrong place, before the wrong eyes. Perhaps a subtle insult, delivered calmly. Perhaps a pause so long that his impatience devours him. Perhaps a refusal to answer. Until his voice breaks under the weight of silence. You feed the fire with just enough oxygen to make it consume him. Consider modern politics. A calm opponent asks a measured question. The other, unable to control himself, explodes. The audience does not see strength. They see weakness. For the one who cannot master himself is unfit to master others. And so his fury becomes your crown. In personal conflict, the same principle holds. When someone loses their temper at you, do not answer in kind. Do not mirror the fire. Absorb it. Let them rage while you remain the still surface of a lake. Their reflection in that calmness reveals their ugliness. And those around you, whether family, colleagues, or strangers, will decide instinctively who is stronger, not the one who shouts, but the one who endures without breaking. But I warn you, this requires patience. You must resist the temptation to strike back too soon. The enraged man offers you an opening, but you must let him extend it fully. Let him commit all his energy. Let him throw himself into exhaustion. Then, and only then, do you strike. Your blow will not need force, for his fury has already hollowed him out. This is the art of reversal. The more he hates you, the more he helps you. The more he burns, the faster he destroys himself. Your calm is the mirror, his rage the spectacle, and the world the silent judge. So, the next time an enemy loses control, remember this: do not fight his anger. Do not silence it. Amplify it, let it roar until it cracks. Then claim victory not through your own fury, but through his. And yet there is a deeper mastery still. For calmness and silence are not enough if they lead nowhere. True power lies in turning stillness itself into a force that breaks men without lifting a hand. That is the secret of the final lesson. Power does not always belong to the one who strikes. Often, it belongs to the one who waits, the one who remains still when all others move, who endures when others falter, who refuses to dance to the tune of chaos. Stillness is not inaction. It is not surrender. It is control so absolute that it appears effortless. And in confrontation, it is the final weapon. Ask yourself, why do men panic in silence? Why do they fear stillness? Because stillness suggests certainty. It suggests strength. It unsettles them because they cannot measure it. The loud man reveals his intentions. The restless man shows his weakness. But the still man, he reveals nothing, and therefore appears infinite. History remembers such figures. Consider Fabius Maximus, the Roman called the delayer. When Hannibal invaded Italy, others wanted immediate battle. Fabius refused. He stayed still, shadowing Hannibal, never giving him the fight he craved. Rome called him coward. Yet Hannibal grew desperate, wasting strength against an enemy who would not move. Fabius proved that victory is not always won by the sword, but by the refusal to be provoked. Or think of the samurai Miyamoto Musashi. In duel after duel, he used stillness as his weapon. He arrived late, forced opponents into impatience, then stood calm as they fidgeted, trembling with nervous energy. By the time he moved, his enemy was already defeated. Broken not by the blade, but by the stillness that preceded it. Psychology explains why. The human nervous system cannot endure prolonged uncertainty. In silence, in stillness, the mind begins to invent answers. Fear grows in the absence of clarity. And so, when you remain calm, others project onto you what they most dread. They imagine you stronger, smarter, more dangerous than you may actually be. Your stillness becomes their nightmare. Think of a negotiation. Your opponent presents an offer, expecting immediate reply. You pause. You do not frown, you do not smile, you simply wait. Seconds pass. Their confidence erodes. They speak again, revising their own terms, weakening their position before you've spoken a word. Your victory is already secured, not through action, but through stillness. But stillness must not be confused with passivity. It is not doing nothing. It is doing something invisible. It is the conscious decision to withhold, to let the enemy destroy himself while you conserve strength. It is restraint sharpened into strategy. Consider your own life. How many confrontations have escalated because someone could not remain still? Because pride demanded an immediate answer. Because ego insisted on proving itself. Every word spoken in haste, every gesture made in anger, is a step toward defeat. Stillness denies your enemy that advantage. It denies him the pleasure of seeing you break. But I will not flatter you. Stillness is difficult. It demands discipline, self-mastery, the ability to choke down the fire that urges you to act. Most men fail here. They mistake stillness for weakness. They feel the pressure of silence and rush to relieve it. They abandon control to satisfy the moment. And in doing so, they hand their crown to another. Think again of the battlefield. An army that breaks formation to chase the enemy loses. But an army that holds its ground, still and disciplined, becomes unbreakable. The same rule governs the battlefield of words, of politics, of everyday life. Stillness is formation. Break it, and you are lost. Now reflect on this. Stillness magnifies your eventual strike. The longer you wait, the more tension builds. The more tension builds, the greater the shock when you finally move. One word spoken after silence carries more weight than 100 shouted in anger. One gesture after stillness lands like thunder. Victory is not merely in surviving the storm. It is in unleashing your response when the enemy least expects it. So I ask you, will you squander your strength by rushing to act? Or will you wait, unmoving, until their fear consumes them? Will you feed their illusions with your stillness, then shatter them with a single, decisive blow? The world belongs not to the restless, but to the patient. not to those who rush forward, but to those who know when not to move. Victory is forged not only in action, but in the silence that precedes it. Even stillness has its limits. For if you wait too long, if you never act, your enemies may mistake calmness for emptiness. The final question remains, when the moment of action comes, will you strike with precision or let the silence consume you too? Power is rarely taken by force, it is taken quietly. Not by the sword, but by the mind. When you control yourself, you control the confrontation. When you control the confrontation, you control perception. And when you control perception, you control people. Without them ever knowing it. Do you see the pattern? Calmness disarms, silence provokes. The mask conceals, their fury betrays them. And stillness decides the outcome. This is the true architecture of influence. Not brute strength, but invisible strings pulled in shadows. The strongest ruler is not the one feared for his rage, but the one feared because no one knows what he is thinking, or when he will act. Ask yourself, are you the one being provoked, or the one setting the trap? Do you reveal your fire, or do you let others burn themselves before your stillness? If these lessons resonate, leave your thoughts below. Subscribe for more strategies of power, deception, and survival. And share this with those who believe control lies in shouting louder, so they may learn the truth too.